Hi, I want to talk to you a little bit today about King Jehoshaphat. King Jehoshaphat was king of Judah. He had became king when he was 35 years old, and he reigned as king for over 25 years. Jehoshaphat was a good king. He established a good education system there in Judah. He brought in a rule of law. So many people in his kingdom loved him. Well, over by the Dead Sea, there were three armies conspiring and coming together to take down Judah. King, he got abreast of it, and quite naturally, he had a human response. He was afraid. Many of us we're not much different from Jehoshaphat because, when we see things that we perceive to be bigger than us, we also get afraid. Our Goliath, if you will. But Jehoshaphat believed in God. Jehoshaphat remembered that he had prayed many prayers before. And only way Jehoshaphat saw getting out of the situation was by calling on God through prayer. Jehoshaphat called for his whole kingdom to fast and pray with him. Now, if you remember earlier, I said that Jehoshaphat was a good king and most of his people liked him. And I say that because when King Jehoshaphat called for fasting and prayer for the situation, not only did the people respond to his declaration, to his moratorium, but many men, women, and children, entire families, got together and they went to Jerusalem to be there to pray with their king. Now, in this day and time, wouldn't it be wonderful that if our spiritual leaders were to speak, that they would get a good response from his people? That would be awesome. Well, Jehoshaphat started to pray over his kingdom. And there was a prophet there. And God used this prophet to respond to Jehoshaphat and his prayers. And God spoke through the prophet saying, Jehoshaphat, show up on the battlefield and watch the salvation of the Lord. Let me tell y'all something. Many of us are facing so many different obstacles. We are warring in so many different battles. But God is telling you to not to quit, to show up. Every day, whatever battlefield you might be on, continue to show up and watch the salvation of the Lord. We've got to be more like Jehoshaphat and put his faith where his faith was supposed to be, which is in God. Jehoshaphat and his army started out towards the battlefield. But before they got there, those armies of the Moabites, they got together, and all of a sudden, there was a great roar of praise that came from Jehoshaphat and his people. That those three armies that was down there waiting to clobber Judah, they got confused and they started to war amongst one another. Two of the armies came together and went against one. And when they completely annihilated that one, they went against each other. Every man that was on the battlefield waiting for Jehoshaphat and his people perished. They all perished. They all died before Jehoshaphat and his people even showed up. But let me show you the blessing in being faithful and showing up each day. For some reason, these three armies came to war with great value. They brought a lot of value with them, a lot of valuables with them. When Jehoshaphat and his people showed up on this battlefield and saw the salvation of the Lord, that his enemy had been defeated, all Jehoshaphat had to do was sit still and know he's God. God blessed Judah that day. The valuables that the armies brought, Jehoshaphat told his people to go out and gather as much as they can carry. They gathered up on the first day. They gathered up on the second day. And they gathered up on the third day, to which they had all they could carry. On the fourth day, Jehoshaphat set that aside. Jehoshaphat set that day aside just to praise and worship God for what he had done for him and his people. Can you imagine the feeling that Jehoshaphat had as he traveled back with all the wealth that they had gained? It's amazing how just putting a little faith in God can make the difference. No matter how large your war might look, no matter how tough it might be, or how tough it might seem, you might be the one that's cleaning up behind everybody else. You might have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. You might be the person that might have to clean up behind others. You might be the one that might have to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. Somebody might be in a hospital right now, barely hanging on with their life. A loved one, you might be watching them sick on their deathbed. Your marriage torn apart. Your kids running amok, running astray. Whatever your battle is, take it to the Lord in prayer. He's faithful and just. He is to answer your prayers. God bless you. Continue to worship the Lord. Worship him in spirit and truth. All right, now, till next time.